and good evening to another episode of the Cantinho Benfiquista podcast, number 131, from Belgian Waffles to home cooking. I struggled to figure out for a topic for this since we missed last week. As always, myself, Mike, your host. I have Bill, I have Jason, Oscar May join us. Gentlemen, how are we doing?
Not too bad.
Good. It looked like we were headed for a frustrating podcast, but fortunately, things worked themselves out. We have two matches to cover here. We have Brugge away in a match that started off a little bit testy, but we came away with the result. And today against Boavista, another match that probably should have put away earlier, and we didn't, and we made things difficult. So we'll talk about that. For those of you who are tuning in, be sure to leave us your thoughts, your comments, your feedback in the comment section. We want to make this interactive. So if you join the conversation, we'll be sure to bring your comments up on screen and interact with you guys as well. What else do we have here before we get started? Social media. We are, Bill, you got a lot of background noise. I don't know what's going on your side. Social media, we're about 100 off from 30K followers on Facebook. So if you're tuning in, if you have a social media account, if you could hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, follow. It doesn't cost you anything. We don't make any money from it. But the bigger the podcast gets, the larger the following, the more likely we are to get some more famous celebrities or former players of the squad on the podcast. So anything that you can do to help us, hit that share button, subscribe to us on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, like I said, Instagram as well. Just doesn't cost you anything. We don't make any money off of it, but the bigger we can get, the more likely we are to bring in some top quality guests. Speaking of that, Benfica's anniversary on the 28th of February, next Tuesday. We are working in the background on some interviews that we are going to record and publish on the 28th throughout the day. So look out for that. I don't want to make any announcements yet in terms of names. We will start recording some of those interviews tomorrow. But as we get closer, we'll lay that out for you guys. And then, para a malta que esteja a ver em português, estejam à vontade de participar aqui nesta nossa conversa. Hoje é o nosso podcast em inglês, mas todos percebemos português, por isso podem deixar os vossos comentários na caixa de comentários e nós iremos abordar as vossas opiniões ou sugestões. Quickly, we got here in the comments already o Paulo Teixeira, abraços da Ilha da Madeira, viva o nosso Benfica, um abraço para ti, Paulo. Já é tarde aí desse lado ou cedo, dependendo de como é que se olha para isso, mas um abraço, obrigado por participar aqui neste nosso cantinho. And Nick's back. We are on fire, boys. I thought that fire was going to die out until like the 80th minute, but shit, we got it done.
Looked like for a while there, looked like we ran out of gas.
Yeah, seriously. But we got it done, and we'll get to that game. But let's start with Brugge, Benfica, another away day in the Champions League. Benfica started with Vlaco Dimos, Ba, António Silva, Otamendi, Grimaldo, Florentino, Chiquinho, Auschness, João Mário, Rafa, and Gonçalo Ramos. Jay, I'll start with you. Were you surprised at all that Ramos and Rafa came into the 11, given that they had been out for a little while? They didn't look very good against Brugge. And then your thoughts on the game.
Regarding the Brugge game, I think it was a game that we controlled. I think that we had some scarce moments, but I think overall, the Champions League game was last week, but I just thought that it was a game that I wasn't too worried about. I thought we played very well overall. I wasn't. So regarding your question about the starting 11, I eventually Rafa and Ramos needed to come into the starting 11. I think them coming in the other game as subs was kind of like for them to get their legs underneath them a little bit, get some game time there. And I thought overall the team played well, and we got out of there with a 2-0 victory and looking good to kind of move on to the next round.
Bill, thoughts on this game? I thought that we started off extremely shaky. I mean, Brugge came out guns blazing, probably more on the front foot than probably anyone would have anticipated given their current form. But the truth is that I thought that we looked for the first like 10, 15 minutes, like we looked on the ropes. Fortunately, things started to kind of level out and the team started to grow into the game. I thought in that first half we missed some chances. I don't think there were any clear cut chances. But I definitely think there were some half chances that we missed. I remember there was a header over the crossbar. There was a shot that, maybe PK spot that we put over. I can't remember who it was. But thoughts on the game, Bill?
Yeah, I think after those first, I'd say like 20, 25 minutes, I think we grew into the game and we kind of controlled it for a bit. But I mean, let's not forget, Bruges scored at essentially at the end of the first half.
Yeah.
That was then called back. I think it was offsides.
Yep.
That game completely changes if that goal counts. Like,
Bruges came out.
Bruges came out hot, right? They had us on our back foot. I didn't expect it. I thought this would be a game that we'd come into and we'd dictate the pace from the start and we'd control it. And it'd be one of those games like we've seen Benfica play so far the second half of the season where we might not be at our best and all out, but we're controlling the game and Bruges doesn't have many chances to score. But I mean, in those first 20 minutes, they were all over us. I mean, the pace up top, Lang and Buchanan, like they were causing problems with their pace. And then we slowly grew into the game. And then toward the end of that half, Bruges kind of controlled it a little bit more. And if that goal counted, I think we'd be sitting here talking a different story, because at that point, Bruges would have just sat back and completely fucking parked the bus and just try to hold out that result and play the long ball to Lang and Buchanan and hope that with their pace they can catch another one or something. But lucky for us, it didn't count. And then the second half, I think it was more of a performance that we're used to for Benfica so far the second half, where we came in, controlled it, dictated the pace. I don't think we were ever at our best, but there was enough chances created to where I don't think the result was ever in jeopardy. I feel like it's one of those performances where, like, if we had to turn it up, we could have. Thankfully, like, we didn't have to kind of go all out and force it to get the result. Right, we were able to get those two goals. Lucky on the Neves goal, the defender. I mean, it was like
opportunistic.
It was like one of those, like, where like your Xbox controller dies, right? And the guy just like gets the ball and stands there and doesn't realize like he's still playing. But I mean, Neves did well to anticipate it, and the finish was class too. But I think it was a game that could have gone differently had that Bruges goal in the first half counted. But at the end of the day, 2-0 away win is something you'll take all day.
Yeah, especially in the Champions League. And from a statistics perspective, in the first half, I got it here. I just got to bring it up. So in the first half, Benfica had 8 shots, 2 on net, right, versus 2 shots from Bruges and 1 on net, right? So like we said, right, like there was chances, half chances, whatever you want to call them. We just weren't really opportunistic. And Nick says, to be completely fair to our boys, if their finishing was better, both in Belgium and even today, I think the overall confidence of both the players and the fans would be how it was before the World Cup. I agree, right? Like opportunities were there today as well, and we'll get to that, but we didn't take them. SLB, yes, welcome back. Both games we similar where we create a lot of opportunities. It took us forever before we finally put one in the back of the net. Again, like you get that sense. It's like, okay, it's a difficult game. We're struggling, but like once that first one goes in, I think things will open up, right? And in Belgium, we got the penalty. João Mario almost missed it. I mean, look at it how you want.
I know.
The goalie was right there. Hit the underside of the crossbar, went in. But he put it in the back of the net, right? That's the important piece. Unfortunately, today he wasn't able to do the same thing. Even though I would be willing to, I think all of us would have put any money on it that he was going to bury it, and he fluffed it. So, extremely disappointing. So that was the first half stats, and then full time we had. Let me see here. Full time we had 14 shots, 4 on target. Right, so it's like out of 14 shots you took, 4 of them hit the target. and we had 2 goals, right? So I agree, right? Whereas if we took our chances, if we were more opportunistic, were more efficient, I think Benfica plays this Bruges team out of the park, right? Take out the first 15 minutes where I think they looked good. I know that they drew again this weekend, and there was footage of Ligh storming off into the dressing room saying like it's always the same shit every weekend or something like that. So obviously things aren't well there to begin with, right? This Bruges side is not the Bruges side that went and beat Porto 4-0 at the start of the Ligh. Like, let's be honest with it. But this Bruges side isn't, I don't think, the colossal that maybe the media wanted to make them to be, right? Even though they beat Porto at home, right? They also lost, they beat Porto in Portugal. They also lost at home to Porto, right? In a game that was extremely important, right? So, right, there was rumors like, oh, they're the Bayern Munich of Belgium. Like, let's call a spade here, right? Like, if you look down that lineup, how many players do you know in their lineup, right? Like that are world renowned. Buchanan, we know Buchanan because he was in the MLS. He plays for Canada, but most people in Europe probably have no idea who Buchanan is. Right, Yaramchuk, we know him because he played here. He's Ukrainian international.
Even Ligh, I have no clue who that guy is.
He played for Ajax. I know that, but I knew that after the fact. The goalie, he played in, who did he play for? Liverpool. Mignolet. Yeah. So I mean, there's a few there, but I mean, let's call a spade a spade. Benfica, I think we went into it believing that Benfica should come out of this 2-legged elimination on top. I think the first game puts us in cruise control. And Jay, I'm going to ask you, did you see anything from that first leg that gives you any concern that Bruges could come to the Stade de Luz and somehow pull off a performance like they did against Porto at the Stade de Ligh?
No chance. Zero chance for Bruges. I mean, that's just how I feel. Can they? Yeah. They can come and surprise us 100%. Correct. But I kind of agree with what Nick said. I think when they come back, we're going to blow them out at least by 3 goals. I kind of agree with that. So,
yeah, I mean, in those,
I understand that they gave us some scare, like the first 15, 20 minutes were a little scarce, but I just thought that we controlled that game. Someone also said similar to what today's game was like, where we took over and then they played a little bit better than us, or we let them come to get into the game. I just thought that it came to a point where Benfica gained control of the game against Bruges, and they just couldn't. They were just putting their foot on the pedal to try to score a goal, and it took a few opportunities, but we were able to score 2. So that's the most important part.
Bill, any worries?
No, I agree with what Tank said. I think like those first 15, 20 minutes was probably the best they could like possibly ask for. And yeah, they caused some issues, but in those 20 minutes, did they have any glaring scoring opportunities? No. The only one I can think of from them in the first half was the goal. I get.
And Buchanan had that one down the line that Audi came out.
Yeah.
I seen the replay enough times to believe that ball's going to end up going down either the end line or the sideline. It doesn't look like it's on net.
No.
But regardless, it's a half chance.
Right. But I mean, in those 20 minutes, that's the best that they could have ever asked for. And they still didn't create anything that was glaring and obvious, right? And in those 20 minutes, we probably looked the worst that we've looked in a while, right? So like take those 20 minutes out of it, and it's a game that we controlled for the majority of it, and we didn't really have any issues with how the game was being played, and they didn't create much. So I don't see how at home, where we've been unbeatable, we lose a game where we already where we already have a 2-0 lead, right? I can't see how we blow that at home.
Yeah, and like to kind of piggyback off of that, just I think it's Champions League play, right? And we're playing in their stadium, so I expected them to start off hot. I expected Benfica to kind of take their shot, like take Bruges' best shot right in the beginning, because they got the crowd behind them. They it's Champions League, they're all amped up. But as the game went on, you could tell they weren't running that much anymore.
Yeah, it was pure adrenaline to start.
Oh yeah,
they were trying to conserve their energy towards the end because they were running out of gas, and that's what Benfica kind of controlled and dictated the game. And like I said, I am not scared. I will be completely shocked if we get eliminated. I just don't see them coming to the Stade Luz, probably sold out at the Luz. We're going to probably give them hell the first 20 minutes and hopefully score a couple goals right there and kind of put this game away.
Yeah, I agree. And like you said, Jay, right? Like Champions League brings a different level of motivation, right? And this
these
is a
guys
Club Brugge team that's fourth in the league with 43 points.
They're struggling.
They had 42 points before this weekend, but going into the game, they had 42 points, right? Sitting fourth or fifth in the league, right? So their motivation is, right, the Champions League, right? Like, let's see if we can get things back on the train tracks. And right, again, like you said, right, pure adrenaline to start that game. Fans are behind you. And right, they didn't take their chance in those first 15, 20 minutes. And then Benfica, you know, to credit of Nunu, who's a new name here. So Nunu, welcome, and thank you for tuning in. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button on YouTube. But a lot of maturity shown in Belgium, right? Like this is a team that, you know, in those first 15, 20 minutes, away game in the Champions League, right? The way that Brugge came in guns blazing could very well have kind of conceded a stupid goal, a sloppy goal, right? And now you're playing from behind. And again, like we said, right, like apart from the goal that was offsides and the Buchanan chance, right, like there weren't any real clear-cut opportunities for Brugge. And again, I think it speaks volumes of again, the maturity. I didn't think of it in that aspect, but I think it's a great shout, right? Like the team showed significant amount of maturity, not to mention having lost their previous game away to Brugge in a game that they played 90 minutes with one less guy.
Yep.
Right. So like psychologically, that's a blow, right? Everyone's starting to question you now, right? And like for them to show up and come away with 2-0 win. I agree. Showed a lot of maturity.
I mean, we even saw it today. Like we'll I know we'll get to today's game, but like that the way the game was going, right? Struggling to score, get one, Boavista gets one, and then just having like the fight in you to keep going and not kind of hang your head, right? Like we all questioned at the first half of the season where everything was going perfect, right? Like unbeaten, no one, like unplayable. Could we sustain any kind of negative results, any kind of negative moments, any pressure? And I mean, from minus those Brugge game, I mean, the first Brugge game, whatever. Second one, I think we played well and we fought like hell to get to PKs given the circumstances. And then again in Bruges and today, I think this team is showing that they're up for the fight and they're not going to fold easily down the stretch in the season.
Yeah, I agree. And before we go to the man of the match, I wanted to run through the Champions League fixtures and get your predictions on who goes into the next round. So obviously we kind of have a head start on 4 of the games, right? But I think there's 1 goal in each of those games, so I don't think it's as clear cut as maybe I think ours is probably the one that's clear cut in my opinion, and I think we all agree. But Milan beats Tottenham at the San Siro in the first leg. They now go to White Hart Lane. Jay, who do you think comes out of that one?
Milan.
So you think Milan, Bill?
God, I hope Milan.
You hope, or is that what you're picking?
No, I think they'll go through, but I really hope that that Tottenham goes out.
Do I go with my heart or my head here? I'm going to go with my head. As much as I don't want it to be the case, I think Milan or Tottenham ends up winning at home. Milan's just been too up and down this season. Tottenham has been as well, but at home, the way Milan's playing, I wouldn't be surprised if Tottenham comes away with it. Son and Harry Kane, they're going to fucking figure out a way to get past them, which pisses me off because I hate Tottenham.
Leon's going to be the savior for Milan.
I hope so. I hope you're right. PSG 0, Bayern Munich 1 at the Parc des Princes. Next game is in Bavaria. Jason, who's taking this one?
Messi's year is going to come to a screeching halt. I think that was a big result for Munich. I think they hold on at home, so I think Munich goes on.
Bill?
Yeah, Bayern. They're at home. I don't.
It's going to be closer though.
I agree.
That game's a toss-up for me.
PSG is one of those teams where like you see it consistently, like they fold under pressure, especially in like certain atmospheres, right? And like at Bayern, like if it was at home, there's a different feeling to the game. But having to go away to Bayern And Bayern in the Champions League is one of these teams that they're in the same caliber as like Real. Like you just, no matter how poorly they perform in the league, they just find a way in the Champions League. And I think PSG is going to struggle away.
I agree. And I mean, Mbappe will be fit. Neymar will be out. He'll be like celebrating his sister's birthday like he does every year, or at Carnival like he does every year. He always manages to get hurt this week of the year, every year. He got hurt this weekend. I agree with Jay. I think it's going to be tighter than people expect. I would prefer PSG go through. But I do think that Bayern's going to somehow figure out a way at home, their stadium. They got a solid squad. They've been here, done that. PSG year after year comes up short, even though they have a group of players, but they don't have a team, I think. And I think that's going to be the difference in this game. So I'm going to pick Bayern as well.
How much you think they're kicking themselves in the ass for letting go of Coleman?
Serious, 100%. This could have been us against Bayern Munich. A completely different story. Benfica Brugge, I think we all agreed on. Benfica goes through. Dortmund 1, Chelsea 0. Second leg back at the Bridge. Jay.
This is going to be a surprise. I think Chelsea goes through on this one. Even though the way that they're playing and everything, I think. I just think that Chelsea pulls it off. I don't know how, but I think they do. I don't want them to. This is one of those where I don't want them to go through, but I think that they do pull it through, and I think João Felix is going to be a big part of it too.
Red Baron says Dortmund. Welcome back, Red Baron. Good evening. He says Dortmund's going to go through. SLBS says Bayern are pros. They don't mess around. That's the difference, right? Like they've been there, done that, right? They know what it's like to be in these big games. PSG does, but they tend to fold consistently, right? They haven't proven us. They haven't proven to us that they can get over that hump in those difficult matches. And this is almost like an anticipated final, right? Like a big game against Bayern Munich.
Oh yeah.
If they can get over this hump, then I think they're really projecting themselves for a big finish in the Champions League. But they have to get past. It's a big but. I think they need to get past this. Nick says, I agree. PSG along with Chelsea are a group of great players, but not a good team. So Jay says Chelsea's going to go through. The odds, I haven't checked them, but I would be still willing to bet that Chelsea's favored, given that it's at home and given the squad that they have, even though they can't figure it out. Bill, this is a tough one for Bill, everyone, because Bill's a Chelsea fan.
Yeah, but you know
so
where
I know,
he's going.
Yeah, we know where he's going, but let's hear his take here. Hold on before you go. Neil, welcome. Neil doesn't always listen to us live, but he's a consistent listener of the podcast. He sent us a note this weekend letting us know that the latest audio version wasn't on Castbox, I think was that he was listening to. So Neil, hats off to you. Thanks for joining us live. And we appreciate all your support of the podcast here. He says, I hope Chelsea loses everything and gets relegated. I mean,
the way they're going in the league.
I hope so
real
too.
Possibility. Like they look like shit in the league.
Bill, who are you taking here?
I mean, my heart obviously is going to say Chelsea. I think the only thing that's kind of leaning in their support on this is the fact that it is at home. But I mean when you
help them this weekend,
when you have a fucking Harry Potter on your bench and you're rolling out Loftus-Cheek and Gallagher and Ziyech and just shit after shit, like,
dude, don't disrespect Harry Potter like that,
dude. I just,
come on, man.
It's.
Hey, how did Enzo look in that goal?
Toasted.
Dude, it's all that cash, all that money. You know, his salary is weighing him down.
He's holding his pockets down.
It was weighing him.
You know
down.
what it looked like? It looked like us. Jay, you remember
Dude,
Austin
like
Pisha?
me running.
Remember Austin Pisha and how fast he was?
Yeah.
It looked like us trying to chase Austin Pisha.
Yeah.
He was like a gazelle, dude. You couldn't catch him. That's what Enzo looked like. Oh shit. Yeah, he's gone.
No
right,
chance.
So going Chelsea.
I'm gonna say Chelsea just because it is at home, and I feel like, I mean, eventually those players will have to figure it out, and I think the fact that it's at home will help.
That's the only reason why I picked Chelsea is because they have the home game, and I think like they have so much talent. Like I think there's gonna be one game that they explode, and I think it might be.
I mean, they're bound to put it together. I didn't think they looked that bad away to Dortmund. I thought they
No,
looked decent.
the thing is that like they're creating, right? They're
looks good,
creating
really
chances. The problem is like,
they just don't have someone to score the goals.
right? We have freaking Havertz up top, like
I think
so.
You guys
the
need to
pressure-
buy Felix. Like I think he's
They-
been playing
they will.
outstanding.
Yeah, I don't think they will. But
I think
who
they do.
knows? With Mr. Dodgers, he basically buys everything that moves. So
Got cash.
I agree with the home aspect, but I think with everything going so bad for Chelsea right now, obviously there's a few games between now and then. I think that if based on today, my prediction is based on today, things are just so negative around the club right now and they still haven't been able to figure it out, that I think that they're obviously going to go into this game with a shit ton of pressure, right? Because they're 10th in the league. They just spent 600 million euros or pounds in the transfer window. And I don't think they've won a game since the transfer window closed. And I think they've only scored 1 goal. So, right, things heating up, right? The manager is under pressure, even though they said that he's staying. I just think Dortmund has experience. They have some guys on that team that are experienced. They've been in this situation before. And I think that they are capable of hitting them on the counterattack as things start to mount and pressure starts to mount. Now, if Chelsea scores early, then I think they figure it out and they then start going. But I'm going to go with Dortmund here simply based on today, what I know today. Obviously, Chelsea could win the next 1 or 2 games and change that. But based on today, I'm going to go with Dortmund. And I hope that's my heart and my head speaking. I really hope that they win. Games that start tomorrow. So clean slate here. Liverpool hosts Real Madrid. I'll start with Bill on day 2. Bill, who's going here?
I said it last year, and I'll repeat it again. Champions League, it's Real Madrid. I don't care what form we're in. I mean, Liverpool's struggling, but no matter who they're going up against, Real Madrid in the Champions League is completely different animal than what they are in the league. So Real Madrid.
Jay, you agree?
I am also going to go Real, but I think this is going to be a classic. It's going to be a great duo between these two teams. It's going to be closer than anyone thinks, and it's going to be resolved in the second leg. And I think it's going to be a 1-goal differential between them. But I'm going to go Real. Real pulls it off. They find something. They always have a horseshoe up their ass. So,
I agree that Real is built for this competition. And it's no surprise it's not a shock to anyone that obviously Liverpool is struggling this year. They have looked better in the last couple of weeks. Jota's back in the squad. Firmino's back in the squad. That's a big boost for them. Real Madrid's not having that great of a season themselves. Right, they're 8 points off of first place. But again, right, like typically that's a 2-horse race in La Liga. But again, regardless of their form domestically, they always seem to show up in the Champions League. But I agree with Jay. I think this is going to be a classic between 2 European giants. And I feel like everything is set up for Liverpool has played Real Madrid in the last 3 Champions Leagues or last 2 Champions Leagues. And I feel as if everything's aligned for Liverpool to pull this off, given how poor they've been domestically. Some players coming back, and all of a sudden they pull this off and they can finish off the year strong. So I'm going to go with Liverpool in this one. So I'm going to go different from you guys. Frankfurt, Napoli. Given.
I don't know much about both teams. But I feel like Napoli's been having a pretty good season. I would go Napoli.
Pretty good. They're in first
They're like
place
10
with
points
15
clear.
point advantage.
15.
Yeah, like I said, what I've seen of Napoli is what I see on Twitter, and
they're
I know
crushing
they have that.
Osimhen.
I don't even know that guy's name, but that guy's nasty.
They got the Nigerian guy. They got the Georgian kid. I don't know how to say his name. His
last
name
that
is like
guy, the Georgian one. He's like
they
a
call him
lefty or something.
Cravadona, something like that. He's legit. His last name's a password.
Yeah,
it's so long.
I'm just gonna ride with I think Napoli's a favorite, and I think I'm gonna ride with them.
Right.
Just because they're on good form overall. They're first place, and they can continues on as well.
Bill.
Yeah, I agree. I don't watch much Serie A, but 15 points clear in any league is it's
Yeah,
a
watch
pretty
the
good
YouTube.
indication. And
look
I mean,
good.
we saw UCM in the Champions League, right? They had a good campaign.
Yep.
So I mean, clear cut favorites in that tie, and I think they probably end it in this first leg.
Yeah. Let me run through the comments quick before we go to the last two. Neil says, "Is there anyone we don't want in the final 8? Can we draw Porto?" We're going to get to that after we do these last two, so hold that thought. Red Baron says, "By the end of the season, Gonzalo will be at Chelsea." God,
Fucking maybe.
of all clubs, I hope not.
After
Neil
today's
says,
goal, they're probably going to offer like 130.
literally, why would anyone go to Chelsea? Gonzalo would be a waste there. Put him at United, Arsenal, or Spurs. I don't think we can draw a domestic team until the semifinals. I could be wrong though. We can. It's open. It's fair game. In this next draw. And Neil says Napoli has won Serie A pretty much over. Yeah, I mean 15-point gap. I don't see anyone catching them. Leipzig, Man City, Bill.
I mean, Man City. I mean, they're one of those teams like PSG where they always seem to fall short, right, in the Champions League. But I think this draw is one that favors them. So I think Man City wins this one easily.
Okay. This seems like a lock for me. It's City, 100%. Like, I don't even. No offense to Leipzig. Yeah, they probably
the dreaded L word that bettors don't like.
Yeah,
lock
it in.
Well, bettors, if you're listening, go against the L. And last but not
probably
least,
pay you better if you go against.
Oh, of course. Last but not least, Internazionale against Porto. Jay.
Inter. And Sergio Conceição gets a red.
Well, that's a good
the betting odds on that is probably like nothing.
You can probably lock that in too.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah, we're not going to get much money. Probably like on guarantee. Again, I haven't seen much of Inter, right? Only what we've seen in the Champions League. It's one of these things like Porto in the Champions League. They always fucking find a way.
They find a way to go home eventually. So this is
I'm gonna go Porto. As much as I don't want to say it, but I think they're just one of those teams that always fucking finds a way, no matter who they come up against. They always fucking find a way through.
And their second game is at home, so I think that's a big advantage for them. Naturally. I'm just trying to see what Inter's looking like in the league right now. They're second with 47 points, 15.
And again, Porto and Benfica both going through, right? Like that'd be very good for the league itself. Like I know it's fucking rivals, but like in the grand scheme of things, right? Like the Portuguese league, it helps. Like it does help.
And I think I don't want them.
I know. I agree. I think they find a way through.
No way. I just don't see it.
As much as I hate to say it, I agree with you, Bill. I just feel like they're going to find a way at home. I hate it. I hate to say it.
I'm 100% with you.
I don't like them at all, but if the second leg was at the San Siro or the Giuseppe Meazza, I would agree with you. But the second leg being in Porto, it's not many teams that go there and win. Obviously Brugge did it. Atleti's done it a couple times. They're drawn there. It's typically a tough place to play.
Like knockout
on paper,
Porto, like it's as much as you want to hate on them.
100%, right? Like on paper, I would say Inter, right, for sure. But I agree with you. But I think they always somehow find a way. Typically more domestically than internationally. They haven't been as strong in Europe as they were in years past. But as much as I hate to say it, I will be proud. I'll be happy to say that my prediction on this one was wrong, and I hope that Inter's the one that goes through. And back to Neil's question, so we can finish off this segment here. Is there anyone we don't want in the final 8? And yes, we can draw Porto. Bill, who's your want and who's your avoid?
The want?
Based on the predictions that you just told me.
Yeah. So the want would be...
So you got, just to recap, you got Milan, Bayern, Chelsea, Real, Napoli, City, Porto.
Yeah.
I already know.
Yeah. The want, and this has external factors in it.
Okay.
Is Chelsea.
Okay.
The want is Chelsea because I think Benfica lines up well, and Chelsea's struggling, so I think we would have a good shot there.
Who's
And
your avoid?
I wouldn't want Porto.
And before he says the avoid, for those of you who are watching, listening, and leave us your thoughts in the comments, who's your want and who's your avoid into the next round? Obviously, us assuming that Benfica makes it in the next round, but who would you want to play against and who would you want to avoid? So Bill's want is Chelsea, based on his predictions. Who's your avoid?
I mean, there's a few obviously that stand out, but to me, it's one of those things, and we touched on it. I think it was last year when we got Real, and then they had to redo the draw. I think it was last year, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
No, this year.
No, was it this year?
It was this year, right?
Dude, I feel like it was last year.
Oh, no.
When they did. It was last year. It was last year. They had to redo it. We had Real Madrid first, and then they won it last year.
And then we got Ajax.
Yep. So it was last year. It's one of those things. Real Madrid, I've said it, Champions League, like no matter what they look like in the league, in the Champions League, Real Madrid, like they're just like made for this competition. Avoid them at all costs.
All right, so he doesn't want Real Madrid. Hold on, let me put avoid. And then just quickly, I want to run through these comments so I don't forget. Let's see. SLB says, I don't see Chelsea breaking into the Champions League next year. It's going to be awkward to have $1 billion team not going into the big show. It'll be like guy wearing a tux to the movies. I've seen some of those. But I mean, Chelsea would basically be like Russia's version of Anzi Mashkashkashkala, where they spent like tons of money for like 4 years and didn't do anything. And now I don't even know where the hell. I think they're like in the second or third division. Nick says if Inter don't have a 2-goal advantage going into the second leg, Porto will advance. I can agree with that. Nick wants Porto. There'd be nothing better to send those guys home in the Champions League or in the UCL. He wants to avoid Bayern at all costs. And SLBS wants Milan or Tottenham. Jay, who's your want and who's your avoid?
So I have two wants based on my predictions. It would be Milan and Chelsea. Chelsea just for that revenge, for that nonsense that they pulled in the summer. Milan because I think it would be a favorable matchup for us.
Okay.
Who I don't want, it's a team that's been fucking killing us every time that we play them. It's Bayern. I agree with Nick. Bayern is one team that I would not want to see. I don't care if it's Real. I'd rather see Man City and Real. I just know that when it comes to Bayern, we fold. It's domestic. It's Benfica. It's Portugal. It's for some reason the top German club in Germany itself. We don't do well. So that's the team I would want to avoid.
I agree.
Well, I'd rather play the Messis and the PSGs and the Man Cities of the world than play that team.
I agree. My want is Tottenham. I think they're very up and down. We've gone not to the stadium, but the old stadium and beaten them with JJ with the celebration on the sidelines, as we all remember. And I think they play an open enough game that I think it would be a good opportunity for us. And my avoid is Bayern. I quickly wanted to get your thoughts on this whole thought process of like, oh, let's get Porto in a European match. My take on this is I wouldn't want it simply from a sporting perspective. And when I say sporting perspective, like there's already a lot of tension between the two clubs outside of the four lines domestically. And I feel like us playing them in a European competition, I think would just escalate that to like a level that we've never seen in Portugal. And I think it would be really bad. Obviously, it's a European competition. There's European delegates. There's a process that goes into it. But like the police is still the Portuguese police, right? Like there may be more, but I just think it would be really bad for the country to have those two play in a European competition, especially at this phase. Alzinda says, Grande Benfica, um abraço para si. SLBS, it's all German clubs, not just Bayern. Those guys have our number. Nick says Portugal itself may implode from all the tension. I agree. I think it'll be really bad. Now, would it be good for us to knock them out of a European competition? 100%.
Oh, great.
But look at it on the other side as well. Like, it would be a fucking night. They would never shut up. And fair enough, right? Like we would do the same thing. They would do the same thing. But apart from the bragging rights and the talking shit, just the whole environment outside of the game in itself, I think would be really bad for the country.
Just
So that's
imagine
the
the
reason why I'd
trauma
want
the
a flag.
players would go through trying to get to the
Oh
stadium.
my, it would be.
I'd fight all
Like-
my Porto family.
You got a lot of them.
I know. I got quite a few.
Quickly, MVP. Do you have an MVP for the game in Bruges? Oh, I also wanted to mention our flag was stolen at the game in Bruges.
Yeah.
Jean Fermens
fuckers.
hung the flag. He hung the flag on the banister, laying low. Somebody from the bottom pulled it down, took it off, and then had the decency to send us a goddamn tweet with the flag in their hand, all scrunched up, and basically was messaging me on Twitter saying, "Oh, someone from your fan group threw a beer at my kid," and I was like, buddy, I can guarantee you that no one from our group threw a beer at your kid. Now, if a Benfica fan did that, I can't speak for them, but because of that, you stole our flag. He's like, I didn't steal it. I'm like, you took something that didn't belong to you from the stadium. Call it what you want. You stole it. And then he was like, well, you should start deleting my tweets because you're never going to see it again. I'm like, you know what? Keep it. It'll remind you of the defeat that you guys just got at home. So yeah, shout out to the D-bag that stole our flag, but don't worry, we ordered a new one and we'll be back and ready for it. But I hope you enjoy it. Maybe frame it, help you think about that defeat you guys took at home. Enjoy the non-W train. We got more for you when you come back. Jay, did you have an MVP for this game?
Probably say Freddie. I think Freddie played outstanding in that game. Ran around, covered a lot of ground.
Yep.
Was really important for us, and I think he's the one that kind of helped us get into the game more, like slowing things down a little bit. So I would go Freddie.
Good shout, Bill.
Yeah, Freddie. I mean, Freddie, I think it's the obvious one, right? He ended up getting Player of the Week for UEFA, so shows you he had a pretty good game. I mean, again, João Mario Chiquinho. I mean, we all questioned it when Enzo left. Like, can he do it when the pressure's on? And I mean, fuck, dude, this guy's been fucking showing up every fucking week. He's not going to show up on the stat lines, right, or on the score sheet, but the performances he's been putting in and the work he fucking does, it's pretty impressive. But I mean, Freddie is the clear-cut one for this game. I think his work rate, not just this game, but just every fucking game, he seems like he's fucking nonstop. That guy has Energizer batteries up his ass or something, dude. He never fucking stops running.
Relentless. Yeah, I agree. I think Freddie, and obviously he was voted Player of the Week in the Champions League, which is pretty impressive. I mean, he came from Feyenoord. Right? So comes from a league, right? All of a sudden he comes to Benfica, playing regularly in the Champions League, voted Player of the Week. Like, granted, there were only 4 games, and the other 4 games all ended in 1-0. But it's a pretty big step, pretty good development on his part in the last 6 months at this club. So hats off to him, and I agree. I think Freddie is the hands down winner here. Moving on to the game today, Boavista. A game that at least I didn't think it was going to be as difficult as it was. Starting 11 picked itself, same as we had in Bruges, with the exception of Gilberto coming in for Ba, who was sent off against Brugge. Bill, I'll start with you this time. Thoughts on this game today? And were you surprised that Geddes didn't start again?
So after not really after the game in Belgium, right? Like, I think I was surprised then that he wasn't in the lineup, but I think when we saw Rafa back in, I figured that would be the lineup going forward. And I think Geddes' opportunities now to start are going to be when we have to kind of rotate a little bit, right? Like if Rafa needs some rest, then you start Geddes. If Ramos needs rest, then you start like that. That's the luxury that we have at this point with Geddes, right? Like, yeah, he's probably one of our better players, and it sucks that he might not start every game, but we have the ability to be able to rotate a few of the guys because he can play in 3 or 4 different spots, and I think it just adds depth to us, which we were all concerned with to begin with to start the season. For the game, I mean, I didn't think it was going to be this hard. I thought we would come in, and the way we started, we looked good, right? We controlled the game. It was one of those games where we came out and it was guns blazing. Like, we were all over them to start the game, and missed a few chances, and that's when it starts getting like, oh shit, here we go, right? Like, and it happened in Bruges, like we missed a few, and Braga, like it's starting to be a more common thing where we're creating, right, but we're missing chances, right, and it's not going in. Like the first half of the season, it seemed like every fucking thing was going in, no matter who was shooting it or heading it. Like it seemed like everything was going in, and right now it seems like we're creating, we're playing well, and we're pressing well. We just can't get the ball in the back of the net, and the first one is like a struggle. And I said in the group chat, I was like, this is gonna be one of those games where we struggle to get one, and we got it, but then concede a fucking.
You. Just want to mandar abraço aqui para Paulo Jorge, abraço, terras de Barroso. Somos, bem, dois de nós somos de Barroso. Eu e o Jason somos de Barroso, o Jason de Boticas, eu de Montalegre, mas o Abílio é para Lula. É para os lados de Chaves. Mas um abraço para ti. Sei que aí é tarde, mas agradecemos a fazer parte aqui desta nossa conversa e participar aqui neste nosso podcast. Por isso, um abraço para ti. Bill, carry on.
Yeah,
not taking chances. We weren't efficient.
Yeah, I think that's gonna. I mean, hopefully we get back to the form. Our forwards get back to the form where we were to begin the season, right? Where it seemed like everything was going in, and we get 4 chances and we're putting 2 or 3 away. Where right now it feels like we need. I think this game we had like 13 or 14 or 15 to put 3 away. Like those. That efficiency isn't all that great. But I mean, credit to the team, right? Like they conceded a stupid goal, didn't drop their heads, fought back, missed a PK. Like what could go wrong went wrong.
Missed a couple of sitters.
Right. Like we still found a way to get the result, which at the end of the day is most important. And I feel like sometimes in a title race, these type of games where everything's going like wrong, like we just can't find a way to put one in the net. We miss fucking PKs. Like Jean Mario has been perfect up until now, and we still found a way to get the result, right? I think that's what helps teams kind of propel their season into titles and the fight that you need to there's some games where we're not going to be at our best, and we just need to drag it out and tooth and nail and fight it. And I mean, I think today was one of those games where like 2 years ago we don't win. Like we can see that goal, chop our heads, and that's it. And I think credit to Roger and the staff, right? The team has that morale and that maturity to say, fuck it, we fucked up, let's keep going, like back at it. And we got the result at the end of the day is what all that matters.
Yeah, halftime stats. Benfica had 6 shots, 1 on target, 67% possession against 33%. Right. So first half, again, although I think one half of that first half, I thought we looked great. Second half of that first half, I don't think we looked great, but I think we also need to be right. Jay made a comment in our group chat where he said, typical Portuguese, never happy. And I look at it in the sense of, right, like I feel like it's always easy for us to say, oh, Benfica wasn't playing well. But I think we also should give credit to Boavista. I feel like after those first 15, 20 minutes, they figured it out, right? They made some adjustments and figured it out. Was it pretty at times? No. Did they foul a lot? Yeah. But at the end of the day, right, like they need to play with the weapons that they have, right? It sucks, right? They're constantly stopping the game, and that's where the referee needs to step in and say, hold on a second, right? Like we need to figure it out what's going on, right? Give yellow cards or whatever. But while we didn't look well in the second half of the first half, I thought Boavista obviously made adequate adjustments to basically nullify us, right? In the second half, it didn't work as well, but credit where credit's due. In the 90 minutes, we had 18 shots, 10 on target, and we only managed to score 3 goals. We had 69% possession against 31, right? So I think the statistics clearly show how one-sided it was. You know, expected goals for Benfica was 4.1. Expected goals for Boavista was 0.3. Right. So based on what they created, their expected goals wasn't even 1, and they got it on the one chance they got. So efficiency, right? That's what happens. Bill, Jay, what did you read of this game?
I think Bill kind of said it. So like the first 20 minutes or so, we just completely dominated. We were all over. The stadium was rocking. the stadium was rocking really hard in the first half. Like I think I saw a tweet.
I got a video of the light show that I'll show after this.
I was a little surprised at how packed out the stadium was for a Monday
night at 9:15 p.m.
I was a little surprised.
To me, it was a game that I just felt like we were always in control. Even in those parts where Boavista came more into the game, later on in the first half, I still wasn't. They just didn't threaten us, right? They had no shots. I think their first shot was their goal.
Yep.
I think us scoring, starting the second half, I think we came out guns blazing. I think we wanted to score. We pressured them even more than we did in the first half, and we ended up getting a goal from Gilberto, who I thought had a pretty bad game, but for some reason he got a goal and an assist. So it ended up being a pretty decent game for him, stats wise. But I thought he played like crap.
He looked horrible.
I don't think Tinu was in his best game either today. I love that sub where he brought Freddie into the midfield.
I agree.
I think that's where he belongs personally. I like when he plays there in the middle. That's up to the coach if he goes with Freddie and Chiquinho or Freddie and Tinu. That's what I would prefer. I wouldn't want Freddie on the wing. I would rather just give that spot to Gids. That's where I know you mentioned the question to Bill. But I do get surprised when Gids doesn't start because I expect him to start. I think he deserves to start. And Nettis does too, to be honest.
I was just about to say,
Nettis,
talk about how Nettis is getting back into form.
Nettis pretty much was the game changer for us too when he came in. He was creating chances left and right. He was the most dangerous player for us. I felt like, and then I know we gave up that goal on our only opportunity. Grimaldo and Otamendi were caught sleeping a little bit on that one. But then the team, like Red Baron said, we never panicked. The team just came right back, and they just they were mentally focused, and they were like, "Dude, all right, we'll just got to get it back. We got to get another goal in." And of course, our matador, Gonçalo Ramos, scores a João Vieira Pinto type goal, the one that he pulled off in the Avalade. It was a nice goal. I thought it was a nice goal. To get back on the score sheet, and then we added one at the end as well. So I thought it was a good win. Was it a little panicky? Yeah, but it wasn't the most panic. I didn't feel so panicky as I have in other games.
I think it was panic. I think it was more panic in the sense of the result and not so much the performance, right? Like we weren't panicking because we were on the ropes and we looked terrible. It was more so we were tied and we were potentially going to now be 3 points ahead of Porto versus 5.
When Boavista tied it up, I got nervous because we were creating, we just couldn't finish. And that's when I was like, fuck, dude, here we go. Like a game where we need to win to keep the distance, right? To keep the 5 point.
Especially a game at home. Like you can't drop points.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. And it was one of those things where we've struggled. We struggled in Brugge to put the ball in the back of the net. We've struggled in this game to put the ball in the back of the net. Now we need to do it. I was like, dude, can we do it? Like I got a little nervous there for a little bit.
But we did it.
I actually thought that we were going to score more goals after we scored the first one. Like I was like,
me too.
This is going to blow up.
But they reacted so quick. It was like three minutes between goals.
And to me, it was like whatever. Like I know we gave up the goal, but to me, I was like, get the ball back in the middle and let's keep going. Like the way I wanted to keep playing the way they were playing. They made that one little error and they gave up a goal, but up to that point, we were dominating that game, especially in the second half, and we dominated the rest of the half as well. And to kind of go by Bill's point on how we starting, we're not starting to score those early chances. In the beginning of the season, we were scoring early, 10, 15 minutes. We would have a goal or 2 goals, and we would kind of go on cruise control from there.
We did it against Paços Ferreira. What was it, 2-0 at halftime or something? This was the first time in the league that Benfica went into the half at 0-0.
Yeah. Roger talked about it at the end of the game in his press conference. He said, if we don't score to begin the game, if we don't score in those first 20 minutes, then it's a game of patience, right? You need to wait for your opportunity and take it. Problem is, like, if you get your opportunity and you're not taking it, then that's when you're like, fuck, Eric, this is not gonna go our way.
To be fair, I also thought we were creating, but like there weren't like dangerous chances for us that we were creating. Like we had the Gonzalo flick, which like that was just unlucky. It just didn't go in.
Which flick are you talking
Gonzalo
about?
sitter, the one he flicked.
It might have been in the first half.
Grimaldo crossed it and he flicked. He tried to flick it.
Near post.
Yeah,
and it went wide. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, like that one's usually one that he does score, but you know, it just didn't go his
had
way.
one.
He missed the sitter. He missed the sitter where the goalie saved it. I mean, that one's like I said, he needs to finish that, but you know, that's just unlucky. Yeah. Goalie's going to save some opportunities. It's just I think we're creating, but like I don't know. Like I see a difference when Ned is on the field, like especially if he's
more direct
in form. Like he just goes at you, like he doesn't give a shit. Like
the same thing as like Ged. So they're players that are just going to go at you.
But having and I love Freddie, but having Freddie play on the outside, to me it slows down a little bit. Like it just
correct because he's not a guy that's going to go at the players, right?
Exactly.
Where Ned is like, I'm just going to keep going down the line.
Exactly. Yeah. That's what I'm trying to say. Like I prefer. Like, that's why I prefer Freddie more in the midfield range. Like I feel like that's where he's more comfortable and he can distribute the ball any way he can, and he could probably do those long passes better than anyone else that's playing in the midfield.
Agree.
Right.
That's one of the gaps Chiquinho doesn't have is that long ball.
Exactly. Yeah. And Tino's not that great on long balls either.
Tino doesn't have it either. He's trying. You can tell now that Enzo's gone. He's
not as good at it.
He's not there. And I was a little surprised that Tino was the one that was sacrificed to move Freddie back. But then I was just looking. I guess he's on 4 yellow. So, I mean,
who? Freddie?
Tino is on. So if he had got another one, he's missing the next game. So I mean, I guess it's an easy pick, right? You just pull that guy off and slide Freddie back.
I think the decision was more the fact that Boavista wasn't getting up the field, right? And is there any value in having a holding defensive midfielder there, right? When you can put Auschnitz there and Chiquinho and they can fill that void.
I agree. In our group text, I was saying go 3 in the back, pull off Gilberto.
I don't know if when he brought Budissimo in, did we go 3 at the back or did we go 4?
No, he put fucking Tony in right back.
And he made a ridiculous tackle.
But he did a nasty. He had a nasty tackle, but that
fucking
was
machine.
But he lost the ball so bad. I was like,
dude, he's not used to being out there.
Yeah. Oh man, that was fucking.
Let me look through some of these comments here. Carlos Amaru, welcome back. Carlos, he said defense was lulled to sleep from long stretches of an activity that happens a lot to us because we hold the ball for such long stretches. It's true. Same things for goalies, right? Like goalies at a big club, you get called on once or twice in a game, right? And you need to make sure that you show up for that once or twice. It's not like playing for a mid-level team where you're facing 15, 16 shots, right? Like you're constantly engaged, right? It's completely different when you're playing for a bigger club, at least for a club that also keeps the ball. SLBS says the goalie played like Man City was in the stands. Yeah, Bracali seems to,
always.
Not just Bracali, but it seems like every goalie that we play against ends up having the game of their season against us. Juanina says, nice to see the team not give up when they face a difficult team. SLBS Remo's goal was class. I agree. His nicest goal by far. I agree. I've been a critic of his. That goal was very nice. I mean, how he lays the defender down, and he literally just got to it with the tip of his toe to tuck it into that back corner. And I don't know who it was let the ball run. I think it might have been Grimaldo, but I was afraid that he was going to touch it and get called for offsides. I was like, no. Okay.
Nani.
It was Gids because Oscar was like,
Gids.
oh, that selfish.
Oh,
yeah.
He could have passed it.
Pass it to Gids.
I was afraid that he was going to touch it and potentially be offsides, but it went in. Juanina says, when Gonzalo Ramos went to console João Mario, that's the shit we need on the pitch. It's all reflection of the locker room and good leadership. Agree. After João Mario missed that goal, it was good to see the team rally around him. He's been crucial for us, and that's the first one he's missed, so hopefully the last. Nick says if Ned is fully healthy, he's a main starter. This was his first 45 minutes in a long time. I agree. He says if Ned starts, we should push Chiquinho out of the 11 and Auschnitz to the middle. I think we all also agree with that here. Carlos says, am I the only one who's impressed with every keeper we play against? Would Vlaco be that guy if we played against him? Grass screener and all that. I agree. Like it seems like every goalie that plays against us is like on their head and they save everything. And Bracali's 42. I didn't even realize Bracali was 42. I know he's been here a long time, but I didn't know he was 42. So,
Dude, I used to think so when I was like he's been a keeper for a while. For a while,
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that broccoli goalie. Broccoli, broccoli.
yeah, dude, he played a hell of a game. I mean, we missed a couple, but he played well. And Joaninha says I don't think he will stay on Benfica long. ... Gonçalo Ramos. I'm sure there'll be teams coming knocking. I'm sure there's teams already knocking, but
100
it's
million.
more of hold the conversation for the summer. But if Benfica does well in Europe, if we get past this round, having sold Enzo, I don't think Benfica is as pressed to need to sell in the summer, which puts us in a good spot, right? It allows us to leverage it a little bit more to say, listen, you pay X, you can have him. You don't pay X, he stays, right? We don't have to sell.
I mean, kind of like his Rui's stance on Enzo, right?
Correct.
You want him?
Yeah.
Pay the release
Here's
clause.
the fee. Correct. Yeah.
The fee. That's it. And I think it's like you said, like the amount of money we've made in Champions League already, plus the Enzo deal in January. Like,
correct.
I think going into the summer, I don't think we're in a spot where we're going to be desperate for money.
I don't know what his clause is, but you should renew and up that clause, whatever it is.
He says we all saw how that ended up last time. I mean, we saw how it ended. I mean, they basically paid 121 million, right? Like, again, if they're going to come and pay the amount of the release clause, then I mean, and the player wants to go, then have a good, time, enjoy yourself. We'll take the money, right? Benfica and every team in Portugal is always going to be a selling club. Now, if Benfica resorts to selling their top players for, half of their transfer value or half of their clause, then obviously that's a problem. But when push comes to shove and they show up and they hit that amount, I mean, there's only so much we can do, right? Especially if the player wants to go. We saw it happen with Enzo.
Yeah.
We would like to believe that if that ran into a situation with Gonçalo being from the Seychelles, etc., you would think that the approach would be different. Potentially he'd want to stay. I mean, I think he would be benefit from one more season at Benfica. This is his first full season as a starter. We've seen a lot of players leave early and not pan out. I think he would be not just for Benfica's sake, but also for the national team, right? Like we struggle to get forwards, to get pure strikers. And I think him staying one more year at Benfica, I think could be beneficial to him.
He renewed this year, 120 mil release cost.
Yeah, I thought it was.
And Mike and Bill, like Gids just came back to Benfica, right? So like sometimes maybe Gids is in his age, like dude, stay another year.
Would be nice. See what happened to me, right?
Help a little bit more.
Things aren't always green there.
Side, man. He's like, you just find the right deal for yourself, like like you. I mean, I don't know the type of conversations, but maybe Gonçalo and both Gonçalos had that type of fuck.
No, I agree. What else we got here? I'm okay with selling Ramos if it means we keep the rest of the team. Yeah, but again, I think having sold Enzo, I think puts us in a different spot.
That leaves a massive gap.
Correct. Then we need to go find someone, obviously. But again, with the money from Enzo, and if we got money from Gonçalo, right, then I think we can go and reinvest. Carlos says release clause or bust. I agree, and I think Rui Costa stood by that. With Enzo, he's one of our own. That's probably the biggest difference between him and Enzo. Both had a good World Cup. Yeah, I mean, Gonçalo Ramos had one good game in the World Cup. He didn't really do much else against Poland again, but he also only played 2 games. Apparently Liverpool is interested in Florentino Luis. Hopefully we increase his buyout if that turns out to be true. I've also heard rumors that they're very interested in him. I don't know if he'd fit in there. He's a small guy as a holding midfielder. I mean, Conte did it, but I think Conte is a different player than Florentino.
Fast as fuck.
Yeah.
I don't think he has the legs. I agree. Tino, but I don't think Tino has the legs.
Correct. He's a different type of player than Conte. Conte will just he's like Ramirez, like just run. Right, whereas Florentino doesn't have that capacity. But I mean there are rumors that they're interested. Jay, would you take this? Sell Ramos, buy Renato Sanchez and Guedes. Would you take it, Jay?
Yeah. Absolutely.
So this is like Guedes, I like it. Renato is becoming a little injury prone. Like it just seems like every little fucking
he just got hurt again, right? A couple weeks ago.
Yeah. He just came back. Yep.
He
was out, came back, 1 or 2 games, out again. Tino's release clause is 120 mil.
So that means we could buy Renato Sanchez on the cheap. So that's good news. And we could get Gids on the cheap and sell Rebus for big money. I mean, this sounds like a win for me.
There you go.
Go buy a striker after.
Juanita says no, he's too injury prone. Carlos says Benfica doesn't have cash flow challenges. Compromising the release clause is not an option. I agree. I think we're financially in a good position, and I agree. We need to make sure that we hold our own. And you want them, that's fine. Come get them. But
it's going to be tough, man. Though it's going to be really tough.
No,
for us
I
to
agree.
Hold like all these talents. Like I just feel like Neds, Rafa. Like Gustavo, these, there's going to be teams knocking on the door for.
Of course. But again, like as long as we're not selling them on the cheap, right? Then we just need to be smart with our reinvestment, right? But like,
it just sucks because like we have a good chemistry going right now, and we suck to lose like 4 or 5 pieces of that.
And that's the unfortunate piece of being a selling club, right? Like, basically, we form and develop players for the big dogs to come in and be like, oh yeah, we'll take him and we'll take him and we'll take him, right? And then it's like you back to the drawing board. Fuck, now who am I going to go get to replace, right? And are they going to be able to hit the ground running once they come in? That's the challenging piece. I have a few more items here on this game before we wrap it up. I thought an interesting thing here, which was João Neves came in again with like 1 or 2 minutes remaining in the game. Does anyone else find that strange? I get he's a kid. I know that his expectations aren't going to be like, I'm going to play a lot, but I think it's weird that like you put him in with 1 minute left. Like he went in the last game again, 1 minute. Like, does anyone else find it weird?
So
I think
I noticed it,
to be honest.
I get it's time wasting, but it's a fucking minute.
So, but that's the thing. I think he's bringing him on because he's young and he's not going to be one of the, like, if he's going to do that with like, I don't know, like a Gets, for example,
like more experienced guy,
right?
Okay.
Like they're gonna be like, why the fuck are you wasting? Like with Ned, it's happened with Ned. It's like, why are we doing that with Ned? Of all players,
and we
like,
talked
why
about
are we gonna
that
bring him
a few
on?
weeks ago here. Yeah,
and
okay, I can
it
agree
kind
with
of
that.
looks like a slap in the face type of thing. And he's one of like, you're so young that I feel like he's not going to be a player that. No, he's like, I'm getting my fucking whatever. I'm out there for a minute and a half, but I'm getting on the field in a big game at home. Like, I feel like he's it's one of those things where like the kid's going to enjoy it more than he's going to look at it and be like, well, why the fuck you put me on the field for 30 seconds?
I didn't think of it that way, but that makes sense. Jay, do you agree with that?
I
was like, fuck, another minute.
I just think it's either for one or two things. It's either for obviously what I think it's time wasting, and what Bill said. He's like, I'm not going to put like a professional of 10 years or 10-year professional in, and I'll just throw the kid in there so you can get like a couple minutes in to get some experience.
Makes sense. Juninus is random, but did you all see the light show?
Oh,
We did, and I got the video that I will play here for you once we're done with this conversation. Roger must see something special in him. He's getting him to just get used to the weight of the Mento Sagrado. I agree, right? Like, I mean, and the weight of his Mento Sagrado is heavy because he's got like 3 sizes too big.
No, the shirt, they figured it out.
Yeah, his shorts are still a little big.
The shorts are still a little big. The kid's
all right, man. Dude, all right, little Jon Snow.
I watched him on the B team, and he played with his jersey tucked in.
He always does.
I think it's just I thought he was doing it on the first team because the shirt was too big, but I just think it's the way the
that's how he plays.
Like it's just style.
Yeah, he's prim and proper, like old school. Little dude, tuck it in. Let's roll. One other piece: referee decisions. Thoughts on the stomp on Rafa in the first half? Do you guys agree with the yellow card, or did you expect a little bit more, Bill?
Initially, live and like the initial replays, I thought the yellow was fine. Looking at it more, and that's one of those things, like you keep watching the replay, you're gonna like convince yourself otherwise type of thing. It's one of those, it is borderline, right? Like the way he comes in, the ball is nowhere near Rafa at that point. Like Rafa had cut back a little bit. It is borderline. In Portugal, if it was a Benfica player, I think that might be a different outcome.
But taking club out of it, yellow card.
Looking at it, I still think live and the initial replays, I think the yellow was fine.
Okay, Jay.
In that instance,
to me, that was a red. He didn't even go for the ball.
Okay.
I've seen worse reds on stomps. But
and I've seen no cards on Trump as well.
I was about to say we've seen worse that wasn't given at all.
Yeah.
To me, it's the Portuguese league, so it's kind of like a crapshoot. So it's whatever how he feels like officiating that day. But I don't know. I just think like if Boz was a red, then that one should have been a red.
But
like,
I think they're
that's
two
what I
different
think.
plays.
If
My
Boz
opinion is
touches
that
him
I
a
think
lot
it's a yellow
higher.
card. Yeah, Ba comes in almost on his shin.
It's a lot higher. Yeah.
I think it's a yellow card. I don't think it would have. In my opinion, it's not a red card. Soccer is a contact sport, and I feel like, especially in Portugal, we've become into this mindset of like every time someone steps on someone's foot, it's a red card. Like it's a contact sport. It's timing. Things happen in a millisecond. I mean, we've all played. How many times you get kicked in the ankles? How many times you get stepped on? Like it's a timing thing, right? Like now, trying to differentiate, was it malicious? Was it out of control? Right? Then it becomes a little subjective, right? It's basically based on opinion. I don't think this one is a red card. I think I'm happy with the yellow card. The Ba one, I think, is significantly higher on the leg, and I think there's no debate on that one. But I wouldn't be surprised if he got a red card today because of what we've seen in the Portuguese league.
But
in my
to
opinion,
me,
it's
like
not a red.
Ba goes for the ball.
He does, and it was a timing thing. But the problem is how high he gets him.
This guy doesn't even come close to the ball.
Correct.
Like the ball was even near that side of the foot. Like it to me,
I agree.
That has to go into
he doesn't get him high.
Contacts as well.
I agree with that, but I don't think, based on where he stomps on him, I don't think it was malicious in the sense of like he put the player's safety in danger, right? Like again, it's a timing
thing. He got him
thing.
right on the fucking heel, like
he did.
Like, that shit hurts.
I know it.
That shit fucking hurts.
I know it hurts.
That shit doesn't tickle.
The initial penalty request on Rafa.
Giving a flat
I'm of the opinion that I don't know what everyone else saw, but I didn't see an extension of the arm. I saw two players that came in and shocked with each other. It kind of threw Rafa off balance, and then as he started to move forward, he ended up like kicking the ground and fell. For me, the no call is the right call. Jay?
I saw a little extension of the arm.
Dude, I've been trying so hard.
To be honest, I was okay with the no call on that one, but usually when you see that arm kind of get extended, you see a call. That's all I'm trying to say is I saw the extension of the arm.
I didn't see the extension, and I may have missed it. So if I did, I apologize, but I didn't see it.
It's not a PK though, because I feel like Rafa, like when he's in like those little spots, sometimes he just feels contact and he falls. So like that's just my opinion.
Okay, Bill.
But I did see
Bill had red goggles on. Bill was convinced that he hit him with the paw and knocked him over.
It was a fucking stiff arm, dude. I've been on Twitter looking, trying to find.
Find the video for me.
I haven't found the clip, but they showed it. They showed one of the replays.
The one replay I saw, they bounced into each other and Rafa stumbled and kicked the ground and fell.
But the guy kind of gives him
out his arm.
He gives him like
does he extend it or does he bump him?
No, so it's one of those.
It's like you give like a little sweet tamala, like
it's hard to tell how much like he actually pushed him, but the arm's extended, and that's the thing. Like Jason said, when you see a defender extend out his arm like that, and the guy goes down,
and
like it's one of those things. Like
if he extends, then I agree with you. Yeah. I didn't see the replay that I saw. He doesn't extend his arm.
Yeah, they come together. And then as Rafa takes that touch away from him, he leans in and extends the arm. And then I think it looks worse because Rafa like stubs his toe. And like that's all you see is like the toe go in and the dirt come up and then Rafa tumble. But there's a clear extension.
I need you to find me that video because
I'm all over Twitter looking.
If anyone watching or listening has footage of that, I want to see it. I didn't see an arm extension, but
I saw it. But it was like one of those things that he was already kind of off balance a little bit, and like he was like leaning forward, and like you just see like the guy just kind of just put his hand on his back, kind of.
We'll have to find the video.
It wasn't like a pep push. It was like a thumb push. Like
Ramos jumping with the keeper. People were shouting out. The keeper comes out, punches the ball. There's contact in the air. I think it's inevitable. I don't think it's a penalty. Any place, any day of the week. You guys agree?
Was trying to sell that.
It's a keeper. They're never gonna. In those
Like, he gets
situations,
the
they're
ball.
never gonna call anything on a keeper going up for a
Yeah.
ball like that in the air.
And the penalty that was awarded, I think it's the right call. He steps on his foot. I think that's a clear-cut case. Surprised it took so long for them to validate it. I was worried that the guy was going to be like, nope, not enough. Move
It was
on.
one of those situations they were probably looking for something not to call
Yeah,
it.
not to call it. Yeah. Jay, you
Was he
agree
off,
it's penalty?
guys? Was he offsides anywhere? Can we call this
Yeah.
fact?
Did someone foul?
I was with you when you were writing. Like, how is it taking this long? Like, it
Yeah.
was kind of cut and dry. Like, dude stepped on his foot.
Yeah, I don't know what the hell took so long. MVP of the game today, Jay.
MVP. Matador. Gonzalo Ramos, game winner. I got to go with
He did get the MVP of the game as well.
I thought he played well. I thought he hustled a lot. I wish he scored the flick in the sitter, but I thought overall he played well. He stuck with it, and he showed some leadership as well. After scoring the goal, going to João Mario, and basically saying the goal was dedicated to him. So that was kind of cool.
Bill, MVP.
Worst player on the field. Gilberto. Goal and an assist. Like, I don't know how the fuck you like stat line. He's the MVP. Goal.
He got MVP and he was goal point MVP as well, 7.6. But I thought first half he was a disaster.
Everything else he did, I said it in our group chat. Every time the ball went to that right side to him, we would lose it. He couldn't make a pass for it to save his life. Yep. Every single time you'd get the ball and lose it. Goal and assist.
A lot of balls.
MVP. Worst player on the field.
He made it work. I'm gonna go with Gonzalo Ramos as well. That goal was extremely important. He missed one or two, but at the end of the day, right? Like his goal is the game winner. That's what wins us that game. It was a individual performance. I mean, he makes that run, but for him to sit the defender down and to tuck that into the back corner, with his good thing he didn't cut his toenails, or else he wouldn't have got to that ball.
It's a striker's goal, right?
100%.
Toe poke.
100%.
Like
yeah.
Meanwhile,
goalie, 45-year-old Broccoli's expecting a laser coming at his face, and he
gets a dribbler.
Dribbles it by. Legit, you're expecting like a huge, powerful shot, and it just dribbles by him.
Cardozo used to do that all the time. Little cutback and little toe pokes.
Can you see Ramos becoming a capitão? I think he could, but I don't know if he'll be here long enough.
Yeah.
If he stays around, but like you said, I think he's gone out to the summer.
I think Tony is more likely to become capitão first if he stays. That kid's got a good head on his shoulders. It's a matter of if he stays or not.
Dude, that tackle when he was playing right back.
He's a machine, dude. And then he celebrated with the fans. He's fucking all in.
Yeah.
Quickly in the comments before we show the video, Nick was saying I was just waiting on the debut of the Bacalhau brothers. I thought for sure we had seen one of them today. They were warming up, but they didn't come in. Caldo says it's hard to get grasp of the standards since they vary from week to week. They do. The refereeing standards vary. The VAR standards vary. Like, you don't know what's right, what's wrong. There's no consistency.
Could you ever see?
Wait. I don't get that Bacalhau comment. Is he talking about the Nordic kids?
Yeah. Sheldrup and Casper.
The Bacalhau
comes from, dude.
It's from Norway, caralho. The Bacalhau
I just got that shit right now. Holy
That's where the Bacalhau comes from.
That just went way over my head. I was like, Bacalhau brothers. I was like, what am I missing?
Could you imagine, like in England, who was it? The ref that Arsenal game that admitted he messed up. He stepped down. Could you ever see something like that in Portugal happening?
Of course not.
He'd
probably get a bonus.
Probably, depending on who he helped.
Fizeste merda, toma lá mais dinheiro. E para a semana voltas a arbitrar mais jogo.
Tens fruta em casa.
Yes, seriously. SLBS says there was a penalty not called in favor that should have been called. Rafa kicked the ground because he was pushed off bounds. Again, I want to see the footage. If you guys got the footage, I'll change my mind, but I'm convinced there was no arm extension. To me, the only mistake the ref made was not showing a second yellow to a Boavista player. Yes, in the first half, I can't remember who had his name, but he definitely could have seen a second yellow card.
I think Bruno Lourenço.
Something like that, yeah. And it was still in the first half.
Yeah.
Joaninha says she didn't understand the Bacalhau brothers either. She's not going to lie. And she said would never happen in Portugal. Os cheques do Pinto da Costa são top. são cheques, são frutas, são café com leite.
He doesn't write checks.
It's the Venmo. Venmo.
Yeah, straight. Yeah, Venmo, Cash App.
He pays in Bitcoin.
To finish off, the light show at the stadium is absolutely incredible. I was there for the Sporting game, got to witness it, and I feel like as the weeks goes on, they get better at it, and they are better and better. And today was another one. And let's just watch these 2 minutes of amazingness. The aerial view of the stadium completely red is absolutely amazing. SLBS, good timing. Here's the light show for you. Sit back and enjoy. It like gives the just environment a completely different dynamic.
Dude, no wonder why those fans were crazy in the first fucking 20 minutes.
Gets them amped up.
I've been seeing them too. I actually missed this. It's cool.
It was good. It's and like being there is amazing. This aerial shot right here in red is amazing.
Right there.
So
When we're in the league and look for the trophy at the center of the field, whole stadium in red, spotlight on the trophy. That's
Isso é o inferno, caralho.
Yeah, Carlos, they replaced the LEDs, or they replaced the screens in the corners, and then they put the LEDs around between the first and the second piso. Bacalhau brothers, our newest players, Sheldrup and Pinkstead.
I like that.
This is so good.
Freddie is in that too.
He is. He's a Bacalhau brother too.
Bacalhau brothers.
like the Bash Brothers from Mighty Duck.
This is, again, talk about getting amped up.
This is what I love right here. Everything in red during the email. Oh,
that's cool.
Yep. Yeah, it was good. I think it just adds a completely different dynamic to the stadium, to the environment. It makes it entertaining, right? I feel like that's one thing that the U.S. sports do well, is a sporting event is also an entertainment factor, right? There's a lot that goes into it pregame and halftime. And I feel like, at least in Portugal, and I think the sense is in Europe the same, is that they're a little bit behind in terms of making the sporting event an event and not just the game.
Dude, all we need now is fucking Rihanna at halftime. We're good.
Red jumpsuit.
Oh, perfect. Fits in perfect, right?
Nick says, Inferno de Luz. SLBS says, it finally earned the name Stadium of Light. And Nick says, the light show into the Inu is amazing. It was, if they only point the outside now, or paint the outside now. So Rui Costa said that the first step was inside the stadium. Next step will be outside of the stadium and making it more family oriented with different things and screens. And they've already replaced the screen outside the Eusébio statue. And then the pavilions for the modalidades is also on the agenda to revamp. So we know it's a lot of work. It's a lot of money, a lot of investment, but you know, he stayed true to the promise, and we've made significant improvements inside the stadium, which I think helps the environment, the atmosphere in the game. And hopefully the next steps are outside and making it more family oriented and making more families want to go to the games with their kids and make it, you know, a Sunday out or a Saturday out at the game. So kudos to him and the so much needed upgrades. Honestly, agreed. To finish off here, next game we have Vizela away, going to be another tough game. I feel like from here on out, we're going to run into these games that are going to be tricky, that are going to be difficult, and it's going to take some grit to get across the finish line. Vizela just had their coach replaced. They're 9th with 26 points. They're coming off a draw to Vizela or Gil Vicente. They drew against Chaves 0-0. They lost away to Porto 2-0. They beat Rio Ave 3-1. And they lost to Sporting 2-1. So not in great form. New manager. But these games away are always tricky. There's another motivation. Teams are fired up. I mean, they're safe from relegation. So they're mid-table, right? So there isn't that pressure of fighting to stay up, which in a sense kind of frees them up to play a little bit more open and free-flowing. So we'll see how that goes. That game's on Saturday at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 8:30 p.m. or 8:30 at night in Portugal. And then we have Famalicão at home and Brugge at home. Final thoughts, social media. Again, don't forget, we are knocking on the door of 30,000. My goal was for us to hit 30,000 by the end of the season. We could be hitting 30,000 by the end of this month, which would be awesome. All social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, any help will be helpful to us get those numbers up. Again, the numbers, the bigger we get, the more likely we are to be able to get on some big names here on the podcast. As I mentioned at the beginning of the show, we're also starting to record some podcasts starting tomorrow with some people connected to the club, past and present, that we will be airing on the 28th next week for the 119th anniversary of the club. So stay tuned for that. I can tell you that Mauro is one of them. I can tell you that Álvaro Magalhães is another one of them. Former assistant coach, former player for Benfica for 8-9 years in the 80s. Assistant coach for Trapattoni in an iconic season that saw us get back to winning the title after 10 years or 11 years of not having won it. So those are just two of the ones that we have lined up. Now we're just trying to coordinate time and making sure that it works to be able to get them recorded. But we're doing a lot of things in the background. And again, all of your support is extremely helpful and beneficial for us to be able to get our name across to those who we're trying to convince to join us. But gentlemen, any final thoughts before we sign off here? Jay?
No, I'm very happy with the result. We're still 5 points up, and we got a good lead on Bruges. So just keep the train rolling, man. I'm riding the Ferrari.
I'm not driving
though. Who's driving it?
Not me.
I'm driving
last year.
All right, we'll let Jay drive.
So.
Bill, final thoughts.
Yeah, same. I think we just need to keep. We've had a nice, good little string of results, good performances, good fight. I think we just need to kind of stay focused on that and keep the results coming in. And it might not be pretty every week, but at this point in the season, you'll take ugly wins, because at the end of the season, those are the results that are going to help you lift the trophy. So
season's only getting tougher. So a win's a win. So you got to take it any way we can get it.
Yep.
Agree. And just to wrap up these comments, Red Baron says Enzo will pay for the upgrades of the stadium. Red Baron says in Vizela Mafia vai estar em força always.
Oh yeah.
Nick says hopefully this next game against Vizela is more straightforward than the game earlier this year. Tulipa, ex-Porto and Sporting player. Yes, he is Vizela's new coach. Nick says he just followed us on Facebook, and Carlos Amaro says big win today. For all these tuning in live or after the fact on the audio version, thank you for tuning in. Again, don't forget to check us out on social media. Gentlemen, as always, a pleasure. We'll be back next week. And as always, viva o nosso Sport Lisboa e Benfica. Good night.
You bet.